Hello beautiful people, in today's video we are going to talk about the Xiaomi Mi 10, not the Mi 10 Pro, not the Mi 10 Ultra, the Mi 10. Whether or not it is a good value for you to buy, whether or not it's better than my Poco F2 Pro, and whether or not it's the right phone for you. So I have had the Redmi K30 Pro now for 4.5 months, and I've had the Xiaomi Mi 10 for about 24 hours. And I wanted to touch on a really interesting subject about whether or not the Xiaomi Mi 10 was a good quote-unquote value. Now, when this device was released about 5.5 months ago, it was really overshadowed by the Mi 10 Pro 5G. All around Hanoi in the parks, they have like different kinds of workout equipment. And on a day like today, when the weather is nice out, we just had a couple days of rain. It's a little windy, but overall it's pretty nice. The parks can be busy. Now, the Mi 10 Non-Pro puts the whole Xiaomi lineup in a pretty interesting light. The reason for that is because specifically the Mi 10 Non-Pro is very much the OnePlus 8 to the OnePlus 8 Pro in Xiaomi's lineup. When we combine that with the fact that overall, Xiaomi is trying to move their entire product lineup more upscale to more expensive devices, it makes this their premium but not top tier premium flagship device, which is good and bad. And so by the power of movie magic, we're here at the following day. Just had a little bit of lunch in another little park with workout equipment. It's kind of just normal neighborhood shit here in Hanoi. Not really that big of a deal. Government does a pretty good job of keeping these places up to date in the nicer areas. Let's talk about some of the downsides to the Xiaomi Mi 10 Non-Pro. First and foremost is that it has worse cameras than the Mi 10 Pro. It also has worse cameras than the Mi Note 10 Pro, which kind of means that if we're just overall talking about some of the best value camera phones on the market, I said last year that the Mi Note 10 Pro was maybe the best Xiaomi phone of 2019, and seeing how it's aged, I think it's just as good as it was back then, if not better because of software. Another downside to the Xiaomi Mi 10 versus the Mi 10 Chao. Another downside to the Mi 10 versus the Mi 10 Pro is that it's got slightly slower charging. The Mi 10 Pro has the 50-watt wired charging, whereas the regular Mi 10 is stuck with the 33-watt charging that Xiaomi introduced last year with the Xiaomi Mi 9. It also doesn't have the same stereo speaker setup as the Xiaomi Mi 10 Pro, and that's about it. If you guys are enjoying this video, if you guys enjoy me getting outside of the office to film some of this stuff, let me know in the comment section down below. If you want to support me, the best thing to do is hit the subscribe button or hit me up on Twitter. It's where I like to be really, really active. And if you want to put some money in my pocket, which would make me love you, go ahead and use my affiliate links. It's of no cost to you. Now, the only reason, in my opinion, that you would get the Mi 10 Non-Pro is if you wanted to save money versus the Mi 10 Pro. Clearly, the Mi 10 Pro is a better device in most ways, but let's talk about some of the ways that the Mi 10 Non-Pro is better than a device like, let's say, the Poco F2 Pro, and kind of whether or not the Mi 10 hits a sweet spot in regards to value in the Xiaomi lineup and as just smartphones go, or if the Mi 10 is in this middle ground where it's not that great of a value, even though it has a higher price. So the reasons you want it over this device, which I'm using right now: it has optical image stabilization on the main camera, and it has a bigger sensor. Now, I haven't finished up my testing on it, but I've got a feeling that for still image performance and possibly even for video, the Mi 10 Non-Pro with the Samsung ISOCELL sensor is going to have pretty comparable performance to this device. outside of the image stabilization is interesting. And we can go do a whole other camera deep dive stuff, and let me know in the comment section what you want me to talk about in these camera tests. The other one is that it's got a higher refresh rate display. Now, the Poco F2 Pro has a 60 hertz display. This device has a 60 hertz display. The K30 Ultra will have the 120 hertz AMOLED display, but it's not going to shoot 4K 60. It's going to have the IMX 682, which is essentially the 686 without the ability to record 4K, and possibly a couple of other tweaks to bring it down in price. We have no moving parts in the selfie camera of the Mi 10. For someone like myself that might want to use my phone in the rain, in dusty conditions, in just more challenging conditions, the lack of moving parts, the lack of a headphone jack mean that the device is going to be better suited for rugged environments. We can argue about the pop-up camera being fragile or being not fragile, but essentially at the end of the day, it's just another place for dirt, grime, and stuff to get in and break it. Oi, Zoe, oi. Now, another place I wanted to talk about one of the advantages of the Mi 10, which it's really hard to quantify. Hanoi, ten lazi? Con ten lazi? Toàn, rất vui. Bao nhiêu tuổi? 9 tuổi. Chào. Hôm nay cháu cần đi trường học không? Tại sao? Tại sao? Hôm nay cháu không cần học, tại sao? Ôi rồi ơi. Nước Mỹ. So another thing that's kind of difficult for me to talk about in regards to like the differences between the two devices is the in-hand feel, right? And the curved nature of it and the kind of more premium build quality and feel versus this device. I'm not a huge fan necessarily of curved screens, but now I'm gonna have an audience here. But when you are using full screen gestures with a curved screen device, it gives you this immersive experience in that the screen doesn't stop and doesn't begin, because you can swipe all the way from one side and you're never bumping up against the borders, especially if you're using a case. So whether or not that's something of value for you is kind of left up for you to decide. Is the Mi 10 a good value? Ciao, Con. And the question about whether or not it's a good value is kind of up to you, the end user. If you're getting a set of features that you clearly want, which in my case would be optical image stabilization in a main camera and better video quality, then yes, it does. In many ways, I really want to liken the Xiaomi Mi 10 non-Pro to the iPhone 12, not the iPhone 11, not the 11 Pro, and not the 11 Pro Max. It's just a device that's got a great main camera, a good ultra-wide camera, and then a bunch of other features along with a really powerful processor that kind of hit this sweet spot in regards to functionality that a lot of people care about and that a lot of people value. I want to close this video out really quick to talk about something a little bit different, which is the COVID situation here in Hanoi. I just got done having a long conversation with an older man in the park that kind of interrupted my video, but he was a he was an American War veteran, and we connected over that because my uncle was in the war over here as well. Now, the reason I want to bring up the fact that he just came over and talked to me when talking about COVID is that recently we've had another outbreak of it here in Da Nang, or in Da Nang specifically, but in Hanoi and in a lot of other areas in the country, there's a lot of anti-foreigner sentiment because by and large, foreigners, including myself, aren't necessarily that personally worried about COVID because I am healthy, I work out frequently, I wash my hands, I get vitamin D. I'm not necessarily personally so concerned about that, but the news here has really made it so that Vietnamese people are not necessarily afraid of foreigners, but most Vietnamese people are very, very wary of foreigners here. And the fact that the guy just came up and talked to me, he was a university professor and he spoke excellent English, but that gives you kind of an idea of the education level here in regards to education versus anti-foreigner sentiment versus what the actual situation is here. The reality is the second outbreak that we've had has been caused primarily or quite possibly because of illegal immigration and people coming over the border from China, but we haven't really tracked down the most recent patient 0 yet. Well, hey there, this video is over. But if you guys want to go ahead and check out another video over here, it might be about the Poco F2 Pro or Gcam. If you guys want to go ahead and check out another video right here, it could be the newest video that I have if this is an old video of mine. I'll wait for you.